Greetings, my name is Patrick Seman Juntak. I'll be presenting slides on the topic of raising goats business here at our farm located in Cariu, West Java, Indonesia. There are five main issues that when raising goats business that usually a lot of people are facing, and these are costs of baby goats that continue to rise. However, selling price for adult goats tend to be stagnant and may rise very slowly. Number two is availability and high cost of animal feeds. Three is communicable diseases and goats deaths. Four, cash flow mismatch. Five, low human resource quality, lazy workers, and stealing, thieving mentality. And I'll be discussing each of these issues. Number one, baby goats issues. Now the cost to buy baby goats continue to rise. In contrast, the selling price for adult goats tend to stagnate or may rise very slowly. The price cost to buy baby goats tend to rise because many ranchers or farmers pursue to buy baby goats as their input for fattening operations. Two, they're often bought by amateur ranchers, farmers with limited funds, so they buy baby goats to raise. And three, they are also bought by hobbyists as additions to their family farm operations. And selling price of goats, or should I say adult goats, tend to stagnate and may rise very slowly because here in Indonesia, the high selling prices mainly occur during the Idul Fitri, Islam New Year, and Idul Adha. Those are the time when the animal sacrifice period. Those are basically the only place you're going to get high selling prices. Now, the rest of the time, goat selling prices tend to fluctuate and are highly variable. Example, you can have the akikah, just baby celebration sacrifice. Okay, and then selling prices of goats tend to be depressed during Islam fasting days. So during those days when they are fasting, well, they have a lot of expenses to buy tasty foods, buy clothes, gifts, and all that. So a lot of people are selling goats that they liquidate so they can have cash to buy all that stuff. Or when new school semester starts, so they sell goats so they can buy school supplies, pay tuition, all that, as well as when during crop failures are rampant. So during El Nino heavy drought, well, they still need money to survive, so they sell the goats to get money so they can buy daily supplies and pay for daily expenses. And two, availability and high cost of animal feed. So when it comes to availability of animal feed issues, majority of farmers in Java Island only have land size of 1/4 hectare, which is 2,500 meters square. That's it. They don't have much land. Okay, and majority of farmers in Asia raise their goats in cages due to security issues and lack of space. So animal feed must be gathered from other locations and be brought to the cages. When it comes to high cost of animal feed issues, notice that fresh green grasses contain about 12% protein. Non-greens usually only contain 3% protein, so they're much less nutritious. Now, for supplement, many farmers buy food concentrate, supplements, vitamins, and additional family feeds because they can't get fresh green grasses and shuts. And here in Indonesia, the cost to rent idle land for growing grasses, it's roughly about $200 per year for 1 hectare of land. That's how much the going rate prices here in Indonesia for 1 year. And during the drought season, the dry season, many farmers must spend lots of money to buy animal feed because they can't find enough feed, so they have to buy it from elsewhere, and a lot of this money and expenses eats into their profits. Communicable diseases and goat deaths. When it comes to communicable diseases, animal fattening operations, especially CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations, something like that, they have this highest risk exposure because they need to import, they may end up inadvertently import communicable diseases from the outside, so which would then spread to their entire animal operations. And then you can have all kinds of diseases, mastitis, worms, scabies, ticks, pneumonia, foot and mouth disease, and that's a big one. Foot and mouth disease. Right now, Indonesia is not FMD clear. So breeding operations tend to have low risk exposure because they are isolated from other animals located in other locations. So because if you're breeding your own and you're raising your own kids, you have your own stud, and you also have the females there, and have them born babies a lot. So because you're basically in isolation, there's minimal potential interaction with others. The probability of importing communicable diseases is minimized. You cannot eliminate risk, but you can minimize it. Now, when it comes to goat deaths, well, you have to understand a lot of these goats are in cages. Then their food intake are often imbalanced and unhealthy because they just get whatever the owner feeds them. So when goats are in cages, you have low body, natural body immunity. They become fragile, and they are easy to die when exposed to diseases. I mean, think about it. It's just like human beings, right? If you keep on, if the person lacks exercise, they got diabetes and all kinds of whatever, well, you can have COVID and bye-bye, right? The other thing as well, they have very low gene diversity. And think about it. If you have 9 females for one stud or 20 females for one stud, well, what you're going to have is you're going to have, incest, same blood genetics. So a lot of times, the goats, they're stupid, they're idiots, right? And what happens is they become difficult to train, and a lot of these animals, they have mental issues. So lastly, when it comes to goat deaths, many farmers, ranchers go bankrupt when massive die-offs of their animals. So recently, for example, in Asia, during the foot and mouth diseases outbreak, so many farmers and ranchers here in Asia, they just went belly up. They went bankrupt because they're dead financially. Next, we're going to talk about cash flow mismatch. So what does it mean by cash flow mismatch? Well, their cash flows oftentimes is erratic and mismatched. What it means is that between money coming in versus money coming out. So money coming out, such as daily expenses, routine expenses, and emergency expenses, always occur. However, their incomes may only come per 6 months, mainly during time of selling adult goats in the market. And then some farmers or ranchers may be too over ambitious and have lofty expectations that they overspend while they completely disregard the operational costs in between selling, between raising, during the time they're raising the animal until the time when they're selling. So these financially overextended farmers run into cash flow issues, which can end up in a bankruptcy. And sometimes the goat selling activities are entrusted to a third party, broker, and then on credit, something like that. But when all the goats have been sold, turns out the agent lied and had financial problems, which they failed to disclose. Then they run away, or they lied, and then they'll apologize profusely. Well, how is that different? Example, let's say the broker is your cousin. Well, your cousin lied and committed financial scam on you because he's a crackhead. So he needs money to buy his crack to get wasted, right? So it happens. And then you also have dishonest workers. So you may have an employee, they claim, well, the goat was sold for only $200. In reality, it was sold for $250. So they just pocket it. So it's embezzlement. It happens. And then the last thing is also about low human resources quality, lazy workers, and stealing thief mentality. Here in Indonesia, we have a problem in terms of low human resources quality because majority of farmers, ranchers, they only have middle school education or lower. A lot of them are even dropouts. And then you also have lazy workers. So they want to be rich, they want to be wealthy, they want to be stable, they want a fast, high return, but the worker is lazy. They have no integrity, and they're just pure human trash. Also known as that person is a piece of shit, What do you expect? And then here in Asia, you have the stealing thief mentality in Indonesia. Honesty, truth values are very low here in Asia. There's a reason why here in Indonesia we have ministers, police, we have judges who are corrupt. Well, that means that truth is low, right? So we have a problem here in Indonesia like that. And then altruism values here in Indonesia are very low. Notice what altruism means. Altruism means your intention of giving or helping others without expectation of getting anything in return is very low here. A lot of times here in Indonesia, their mentality is transactional mentality. I do this with expectation you'll do this to me. It's almost like Guangxi in China, but I won't say it's the exact same thing, but it's something along those lines. And then you also have this mentality of one person may plant, cultivate the land, but you'll have 10 people who want to harvest that land. So notice that in the Christian Bible, it clearly states what you sow is what you reap. The Bible didn't say what you sow, let others reap your hard work. The Bible doesn't say that, but a lot of people here in Indonesia, they have that mentality. So, and then lastly, you have this idiotic justification of stealing, and it's often taught by many religious leaders here in Asia. They'll say, oh, I am poor, so it should be okay to steal from A, who happens to be rich and hardworking, because God will bless that person whom I intend to steal from. Come on, think about it. Tell me which religion in this world actually condones stealing. When was the last time that stealing became legal? It's so stupid. But that's what's going on here in Indonesia. That thieving mentality in Indonesia is very high, and it's from the very lowest level to the very highest level. You know. So in our farm, Juntak strategy is one, we're going to buy baby goats to propagate them ourselves. The baby goats will be raised alongside with the livestock guardian dogs, mainly Dobermans and German Shepherd dogs. The goats will be free roaming, and we'll let them feed themselves inside the 20 hectares of land that we have. Goats are trained to feed themselves. That way, natural body immunity will be high. No need for vitamins, vaccinations, or food supplements. Main marginal cost will be deworming pills. The brand name here, the cheapest is vermoran. It's Mebendazole, 500 milligrams. They're only like 50 cents a pill. They're cheap. Ivermectin, we inject them by ourselves. And also Fipronil, which is to control ticks and fleas. And we also use Fipronil in order to eliminate ticks and fleas for our dogs as well. Now, raising goats at our farm is not our main focus. Marginal costs are very minimal. All other costs are fixed costs, so we don't even count it. Now, the main goals for the goats are for them to cut and eat the grasses, bushes. And that way we don't have to cut them ourselves, but let the animals cut them. And we'll get their feces and urine as natural fertilizer to increase the soil organic matter at our farm. That's what SOM stands for. And this is part of our regenerative agriculture push at our farm. And in terms of operational, well, we only need one worker, and that's just a part-time activity. Goats are only released one time during the daytime from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. so they can find their own foods and feed themselves. Because goats are ruminants, then the grasses, leaves they ate will be regurgitated throughout the 24-hour period. That's what they do. Same thing with cows. They munch, 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 but in reality they'll be chewing all day. They'll regurgitate it and they consume it and then they eat it again. Now, if theft or stealing occur, then the thieves rarely steal during the daytime. I mean, at the farm, we see other goats roaming all over the place during daytime, and I don't even know who the owner is. No one's paying attention, and it seems like no one ever steals them. Why? Because if you steal during the daytime and they find you, well, they're going to catch you and they'll beat you up. They'll probably lynch you. So that's why if they're stealing, they would conduct their stealing activities during daytime because they don't want to be caught. Now, a lot of times when the thieves, during nighttime, when they steal, they usually enter into the animal cages where they will slaughter the animals inside the cage itself. These thieves will only get the meats. Then they leave the carcass when these thieves run away. Why do they do that? Because if you are slaughtering goats or when goats making a lot of noises in the animal cages, no one's going to say anything because, well, that's what do you call it? That's what animals do, especially goats, they just go meh, 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 meh. But if they try to take them out in, how do I say, the whole goats try to put it in a truck, whatever, well, they'll be making all kinds of noise somewhere else, meh, 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 whatever. And well, if the owner finds out, or let's say a neighbor finds out, well, people will catch him and lynch him, right? Beat him up. Therefore, our Doberman dogs and German Shepherd dogs, they become vital livestock guarding dogs and would provide reliable service in shepherding and provide security protection to the goats from many potential dangers. Now, this is hypothetical. It's a marginal return on investment. So if you buy baby goat from other people, again, this is a simplified hypothetical scenario. Let's say the price of baby goat aged 2 months to 4 months, let's say it's $40. Medical bills for 1 year. Remember, what I mean by medical bills is basically anti-deworming pills, Ivermectin, and Fipronil. So let's say that's $10. Let's assume the selling price of adult goat in the market 1 year later, let's say it's $150. So the profit prediction per goat sold is $150 minus $40 and minus $10. So you get $100. So the marginal return on investment is $100 divided by $50. So it's roughly about 200%. Okay. But if you propagate and raise your own baby goat, right? Again, same medical bills, $10 selling price. Let's say it's $150. So the profit is $150 minus $10, so it's $140. So the marginal return on investment in 1 year is $140 divided by $10. You're going to get 1,400%. Therefore, this is very, very high return rate and it's highly lucrative. There's a reason why a lot of the unsophisticated farmers here in Asia, they don't even bother to have a bank account or in any bank. Why? What for? Because if you put money in the bank, you're only making 4, 5, 6, 7% per year from interest of your money, and then the Indonesian government is going to take away 20% in taxes from out of that, any from interest tax anyway. And on top of that, you're also going to have inflation. So guess what? At the end of the year, you're only going to get 1%, 2% return. It's nothing. So what do these farmers do? They actually use these goats as their store of value. That's how they store their wealth. Just like in biblical times, right? When you look at 6,000 years ago, you have, in order to get someone's wife or for tribute, you bring 100 goats, 100 camels, and 200 sheep, oxen, or something like that, and such. So they've been doing this since biblical times. Any questions? Feel free to contact me. Again, these are just hypothetical, and these are our strategies that we are implementing at our farm at Juntak Foods. We are located in Cariu, West Java, here in Indonesia. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.